Welcome everybody. This is No Time to EOL. So, I know there are many people joining this conference from different areas of the planet. So, a brief introduction about myself. I'm James. As you might have heard Shalom describe, I'm still a student at university. And I've had a really close relation with AOSP. So today's talk will be more of a lower level side of the Android ecosystem. So yes, we do have app development. I'm still getting into that. However, my hobby was always into AOSP. So it's something I delved deep into. So in this adventure, this episode of Code AOSP, No Time to EOL, we will be finding our mission towards defeating EOL and taking the better opportunity of AOSP. Okey-doke. So, just a quick summary before we get started. We're going to start with finding a partner. Of course, being an agent, Agent Gatt, it is important for me, very crucial, that an agent has his partner device up to the very high standards. We will be going through the selection of our partner, seeing its requirements, seeing its specifications, to choose the perfect device for our mission. Which eventually, like any other device has, encounters an end of life. Not quite what we want. It might be a hurdle. We'll discuss what problems may come from this and the solutions, which are custom ROMs, which is the perfect segue, by the way. It has a relation with open source projects. So we heard about open source projects, on what level they are. We will be discussing this further. On what platform it is, also noteworthy. And from that, we will sort of delve deep into our use case, which is installing the custom ROMs themselves. There's one way of compiling it, and there's one way of installing it. We will be following through those as we go. At the end, we'll take a sneak peek at the source code to see what is up beneath the surface, to see how the environment is compiled, the different components, and even like a modular approach to changing Android to your own feels and likes. What's looking ahead? Okay, so it's me. I'm Agent Gatt. Obviously, what I do is very hidden, and having a device which suits my needs with latest software, latest features, security, latest API levels, and security most worthy, which comes with security patches, which are merged monthly into Android, are the 5 main components which I look for in a device. So it's 2018. I have a budget from the MI6. It's quite important for me to make good use of this budget. So the Pixel 2 XL was on the market at the time, made by Google, and it was a no-brainer to get started with this device. Coming out with Android 8, which was the latest Android version at the time, the Snapdragon 835, which was a very fast chip and a very durable one, in fact, and 4 gigs of RAMs settled my needs for 2017. It's 800 on release, so yeah, it should last for a while now. Let's take a look at that. Obviously, over the years, new versions of Android come out. So we started with 8.0 Oreo in 2017 with API level 6, 8.1, which boosted the API level to 27, Pi, 28, 10, 11. So the Pixel 2 XL had a life of 3 years. So we went from 2017 to 2020. However, this may cause problems. Obviously, we're at the end of the chart here. There's nothing beyond 11. And my requirements did not change. So I still need the latest API levels for my apps to work. Not that apps will stop working. It's just my specific apps for agents' needs are very important for the use case of my job. So API level 30, what are we now on? 31, 112, 32, 113. So we're already 2 API levels beneath the latest requirement. So what now? This is quite a bit of a problem. So end of life? Yes, it's November 2020, and Google has officially axed support for the Google Pixel 2 and the 2 XL. We have other devices from Google which are being supported at the time. We had Pixel 3, Pixel 4, and I think the 4XL and 4A are the latest devices which are still getting support, but as a Pixel 2 XL user, it's not the case. What does this mean? Newer API levels, lost with Android 12, bummer. That also comes with the feature drops, which are also being missed. I can't make use of Material U. I can't make use of the newer security features like the quick settings, camera, and microphone disabled. It's quite handy when I'm on my secret missions. I don't want people or services to listen on my discussions. We're missing feature drops, which is also just less fun. I want to have the latest AI features. I want to have transcripts on feature drops. You get the deal. There's a lot of new stuff which everybody's enjoying, and I'm missing out on. So, end of life, not quite the situation I want it to be so far. But yeah, at the same time, I still want to proceed with my job. So those are just benefits, and I also need the requirements to work. So what shall I do now? Purchase a new phone? It could be, but I am looking at my budget from the MI6 and looking at the Pixel 8 Pro. It is definitely out of my range. So my budget, I'm a bit short. Obviously, I am a bit slower at my job right now since I'm running an older version of Android. And 21 euro and 37 cents. I spent too much. Let's just say that. On Thursday, I just went ham and I lost all my available funds. So that's out of the question, But at the same time, we're looking at the Pixel 2 XL, which just came out in 2017. Although it is a while ago, the Snapdragon 835 was a flagship processor. So I am looking at this situation right now, and I'm saying it's quite a pity. This powerful processor should be able to handle my daily needs. It's just that the support is not there for me. And I don't need to feel like I need to spend 800 euros every 3 years. It's not something I'm willing to schedule every time my device runs out of support. And also a gateway to e-waste, that is kind of not the situation we need right now. So I'm happy with my device hardware-wise. We just need a change in the software. And that is the perfect segue for custom ROMs. So what are custom ROMs? As we said, we are running the stock variant of Android. So this firmware we have on the Pixel 2 XL was Android 11 from Google directly. Custom ROMs aim to extend that by making a seamless experience for the user to quickly upgrade his device to the latest version. It is made by many hobbyist developers, not a company, not a business. There is developers who are using their free time to commit to this and tweak AOSP in ways that accommodates many users and provides an alternative to stock ROM. So even if you are running in support with Android, you could still buy custom ROMs. So if I don't like the skin of a phone, if I don't like the feel of it, if I don't like the services, the packages shipped with my stock OS, custom ROMs could also be something I may look at. For me, I might as well look at this. I've said what I needed before, the API levels. By looking at custom ROMs for this device, we might find a way. There might be a way that we might continue working with a Pixel 2 XL. But overall, it also sounds very confusing for me. I'm just doing my job here as an agent, but that's no problem because help is always on the way. As I said, custom ROMs have an open source backing to them. There's a community behind them. So finding your sense of direction isn't impossible. It's not tricky. It's there waiting for you with open arms. There is XDA forums, there's 4PDA forums, and there's a plethora of Telegram group chats where many people and developers are there to just assist you, make sure that this custom ROM is for you, it suits your needs, etc., etc. And eventually, once installing a custom ROM, if you find any hurdles to jump, you'll be able to do that. So your sense of belonging will be there as you go along this journey. Each device obviously has its community of its own. So if you're looking for custom ROMs for your device, there'll be a catalog for that with different flavors of Android custom ROMs. And for different devices, if you have a different OEM, a different brand, you get the point. For now, though, let's look at XDA. Okay, so these forums are laid out really well for me. There's a Pixel 2 section. There's obviously reviews. There's people talking about the device on real life reviews, guides, help and support. And for me, ROMs, kernels, recoveries, and others is where I am interested in. As you can see, there's Lineage OS, there's Pixel builds, there's CR Droid, and even Tequila OS. A bit of flavor, a bit to this custom ROMs as well. So a bit of diversity. Obviously, these custom ROMs aim to differ with their own goals and maybe looks as well. With the apps included, maybe some offer G apps, maybe some others are cleaner and can be used for degoogling, and maybe having a cleaner interface. But for now, I'm going to stick to the safe option and just drive Lineage OS. Lineage OS, it is possibly, if not the largest custom ROM. There are many devices which are supported officially on their main website, and even some which are unofficial from the community. It's just an all-rounder custom ROM. It is stable, popular, secure, and yeah, you're very unlikely to find deal-breaking bugs in this case. Developer communities are the developer community behind Lineage OS is quite talented and experienced, and they've been doing this for quite a while now, starting even from Jelly Bean under the name CyanogenMod. So a real sense of teamwork here. Over 100 devices being supported from different OEMs, even embedded boards, TV boxes for your TV needs for Android. If you were looking to get the latest version of Android on those, maybe a different interface, there might be a Lineage OS ROM for you. Whilst also giving you the option and the availability of installing your own ROMs, your own apps on top of stock Android. So it's very clean. You get to dictate how you want to use your device, what is preloaded, etc., etc. So let's move with Lineage OS. However, let's also just take a feel for the other custom ROMs and custom ROMs in general. So when I enroll and I sort of commit to custom ROMs, I expect established support, stability, freedom, and security. Let's discuss these a bit. So updates, obviously, since they've been halted, any updates at all is welcome for me. However, on official levels, like Lineage OS, am I not only committed monthly support, there's also weekly and nightly builds. So every time there's an update, I am expecting some improvements to happen. There are developers working on device trees and also working on the main source code to always make a better experience for us users. Stability, since we're an open source environment, dealing with bugs is a team effort. So if I'm looking at the source code level issue, there's going to be people from different devices making sure that it works on their system, if not pushing a fix. If there is an issue with a way something behaves, like a sensor or some hardware specifications of a device, they'll always be in mind. Obviously, there's a lot of people for said device with different custom ROMs as well, so collaboration is quite easy in the open source realm from even different custom ROMs. Plus, having the freedom of having to dictate what you have installed, how your device looks, tweaking it even on kernel level side. So if you want to overclock, underclock, the choice is yours. And security. Having the monthly security patches merged directly into Android source code, in this case Lineage OS, means that I will be away from the exploits that have been figured out on the latest security patches like July, October. You get the point. However, I do have to warn you. There are a bit of risks. Obviously, we are working on the base level of Android for your device here. So there's a very big chance that things could go wrong really quickly. So this is a point in my talk to tell you to just be careful. It's a small disclaimer. It will be very seamless to follow if you read the instructions given by your developer. So always consult that. There's always ways that your device is ensured to be the demographic the developer is looking for here. So obviously, devices may differ from the way of installing, factory resetting. So you have been warned. Just be careful because tampering your device carelessly may just lead to some irreversible effects. Now that's done, let's deal with Mission AOSP. As the name suggests, we're going to learn about AOSP, device bootloaders, unlocking the bootloader, recovery images, the whole process. So let's just get started with it. Let's describe AOSP, the Android open source project. So, Google, the current owners of Android, let's say that, they maintain the code on AOSP level, basically making it public for us developers, app developers, at no extra cost. It helps us distribute, establish, and expand the platform. So, distributing, it's free, easy to give to the public. Establish, basically separating Android into different components via repositories, helps it give sort of different modularity to the OS. So that's its establishment. And obviously, expanding is by making it very available to even OEMs. So if I'm an OEM and I seek to use Android as my main operating system for a device, I can make use of AOSP level code, which is basically bunked down Android. So there is no Google apps delivered there. However, you are able to compile Android at system level with frameworks native, frameworks base. We'll cover the details later. Whilst also making use of Gerrit. Basically, Gerrit is a way for us developers to contribute to Android. So if you go on android.googlesource.com, you might find different repositories for which you can submit patches, which are reviewed from other personnel at Google, for example, and may contribute to the main base level Android. So if I found a vulnerability which can be fixed in this component, I can submit a patch, and if all goes well, it can be merged in the next branch of the Android operating system. And security. Obviously, by making a operating system open source, you might find ways of, you might think about saying, oh, it's open. Isn't this a gateway for exploits and vulnerabilities? Yes, but also at the same time, we combat that by being the open source community and finding ways to patch that out. So it works in two ways, for a better conclusion after all. Similarly, LineageOS also makes use of Gerrit. Obviously, in a different way, we're having components changed in AOSP and components changed in LineageOS, so that they're not the same identity. So in LineageOS, you can find device commits. So if I'm working on a Pixel 2 XL, even as not a maintainer, I can suggest a commit which can be merged into the main LineageOS repositories for Pixel 2 if I found a bug fix, if I found a performance improvement commit, it's up to you. Or even in the base level code. So if I want to change or submit a patch, it will be reviewed by people from LineageOS. And at the same time, you could also make yourself a maintainer or join the team of LineageOS. So are you ready for improvement? Make use of these platforms. The whole platform is your canvas. Think of it that way. So we're pretty sure about our decision. Let's actually get hands-on with our device. So as I have here, this is my Google Pixel 2 XL. This thing has a bootloader. You might be asking, What exactly is a bootloader? From devices like a phone to a PC to anything really which has an operating system, the bootloader takes you from point A to point B. We will be able to make use of the bootloader. It's a way of security as well, and unlocking the bootloader will be our main point of focus here to proceed with installing custom ROMs. It prevents unauthorized attacks, saves your data from being stolen, whilst also handling other partitions which we will be making use of in the meantime. So let's unlock it. By holding the combination volume down and power for approximately 5 seconds, we will face ourselves with the bootloader. Now, before we unlock it, go into developer options and find OEM unlocking. That will be able to make you available to run the command fastboot flashing unlock using ADB tools or platform tools. That will make sure that you can make changes to your device, which is what we're looking for. We're making the change from our old operating system to our new one. So we run that, and also make sure that your data is backed up, because for the next step, we will be removing our operating system and data, which segues perfectly to the recovery. So our data is backed up. We're going to flash our recovery image to the recovery partition. Fastboot flash boot.image in this case, will flash the recovery partition onto our Pixel 2. Now we just go into the fastboot menu and we reboot to recovery using the volume keys and power button to confirm, and we are found with this interface for Lineage OS recovery. What we'll be doing first is saying goodbye to the old. So we have our zip file, which includes the custom ROM, but before that, we are going to format data to remove our old system, and using ADB tools, we will be sideloading Lineage OS 20. All good so far? Perfect. Because now, after a cup of coffee and 5 minutes of flashing, we are on Lineage OS. The newest API level? Check. Latest security patch? Of course, right now we are in October, Android 13 is running the October 2023 security patch. It's up to date, stable software. The bring up has been done, and the migration from 11 to 12 to 13 has settled in for a stable experience. It's cool, but also I'm a bit curious to what's beneath the surface. Specifically for the Pixel 2, is the device tree, the kernel, and the vendor. In summary, since this is not a coding session and it would take more than approximately the whole of this talk to discuss how we develop this code, Google separates the device tree into Tayman, Wahoo, and Walleye. Wahoo connects Tayman and Walleye together, which is Pixel 2 XL for Tayman and Pixel 2 for Walleye. Basically groups them together to make a common kernel and device tree. Here we have a bunch of config files. So MK files is your best pick of the day for the device tree. And kernel, we have more C code. So for you Linux enthusiasts, we also make use of Linux versions in Android. So you might see kernel 4.4, kernel 5.1, or 6, etc. You get the point. We make changes to there. Whilst the vendor makes use of specific binary files, which are .so files, which sort of dictate how the device specific changes work. So if I have a sensor, if I have a camera, if I have a HAL, which is a hardware abstraction layer, binary file, they're all in the vendor. In a whole, taking a step back, for the whole canvas, we have the Android source code. As you can see, the red box dictates what I just explained, making use of the build system for us to compile AOSP using env setup script, ART runtime, libcore system, frameworks, Bionic, pre-builds, hardware, packages, encapsulates the main components of Android. So build system for compiling, packages for your app developers. If you want to ship a system level app, then put it in the packages directory. The non-compiled version, that could also mean a launcher if you're into that kind of thing, or a system service. The hardware level is if I'm working with a Qualcomm device, for example, I make use of hardware/Qualcomm repos to make sure that my HALs are compiled fine, the kernel flags or the kernel headers are found, whilst having frameworks be the essence of the Android logic. So frameworks/base is a very common repository used within custom ROMs to modify the way the Android works as a whole, and having pre-built toolchains to compile set code for kernel. But that's a whole mission for another day. So I just gave you a small sneak peek. If you would like to do so, then there's an open source community for you to look at. But for today, let's recap on what we have done. Step back. I'm happy. I have a Pixel 2 XL, which is running a latest version of Android, requiring my agent needs. I discovered what AOSP is. It's quite a journey. I can tell you from app development, it's quite a bit different. But it's a very nice way to make use of the Android source code. On another perspective, we learned about the bootloader, unlocking the bootloader, understanding what it does, whilst installing a custom recovery and custom ROM, and also taking a sneak peek at the Android environment. Like this, we have surpassed EOL and also put our part to decrease e-waste. So, are you interested? If so, put your questions up front, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, James.
Hello.
Nice. All right. So we'll give everybody a couple minutes to write questions. In the meantime, James and I will just chat, I guess. Man, this is very thematic. I liked it.
Thank you.
So something I'm curious about with your passion for reviving devices. Mm-hmm. At one point you raised economic issues. You have a budget, and that's why you'd want to fix this device. Is that a real issue you find for people, where the complexity of reviving a device versus the cost of getting a new device is a reason people have this area of hobby? Or is that just a coincidental kind of case, and it's more about fun than it is actual like efficacy?
Yeah. For myself, the reason and the sort of time frame I got into AOSP was when I was 12. To give you a small perspective. Now, it obviously came intuitive for me that I have a phone at the age of 12 and I'm not going to upgrade for quite a while. It's just not something I was handy for, so I just had a phone for communication reasons. So for me, that was sort of the introduction to AOSP, was because of the budget. However, for me, even having a supported device, I daily drive a Pixel 6a, which is obviously still under support with Google. I have these devices laid around, and having them as secondary, tertiary, or just like hobby use on a new version of Android is something I welcome a lot. So maybe, yes, there was a point in time where I daily drove custom ROMs, and I believe that you certainly can daily drive a custom ROM, even if this 6A goes out of support eventually, come 2027, I believe, or 2026, something like that. I might consider flashing a custom ROM, especially since I have contributed to starting my own custom ROM and building it from the ground up with a team. I really appreciate. It's called Pixel Builds. I sort of have no doubts that the work I do is sort of influential to the way I use my device. So yeah, it's obviously a personal preference, but for my behalf, that is just a summary for sort of economic situation and customer relationship.
Interesting. Well, thank you for describing it. I'm gonna look now at the comments to see if anybody asked any questions. It looks like you're being mildly heckled, but no questions.
I feel like the community from my Telegram group chat is having a very important presence over here.
Well, in that case, our next talk is supposed to start in a minute. I think we'll transfer over to that. Thank you so much, James, for speaking.
You're very welcome.
Once again,
Thank
a
you for
lovely
having
talk in a niche area that's relevant for Android engineers. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm always happy to just pop in every October.
We'll see that through.
Sure thing.
Okay. Have a lovely day. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Same to you. Bye-bye.